Hi, this is Matt from Keep On Cruising, and today we're going to take a look at the Norwegian Joy. Especially, is this a good ship for you? Let's find out. In this video, we will review the food, the entertainment, the service, and the ship overall to help you decide if the Norwegian Joy is a ship you would enjoy cruising. But let's start with food because I think to many of us, food is a big part of the cruise experience. And food is also something that Norwegian promotes, even pointing out on their table cards that nobody does dining like Norwegian. Um, if you've never sailed Norwegian before, you might not know this, but Norwegian has their main dining room open on embarkation day. On most ships, they don't have the main dining room open for lunch on embarkation day unless you've paid extra money like the key from Royal. But this is a free thing that they do. So if you want to avoid the chaos of trying to head up to the buffet or even go to the local on embarkation day, you can head right to the dining room. You get a 3-course meal. They've got a really good lunch menu. And personally, as soon as I got on, I went and I checked in. After I did that, I went ahead and I made it on board and I went right to Savor, which is one of the 3 dining rooms on Joy, to get myself some lunch. I'll pop the menu up so you can see it here, but for me, I got the Cobb salad and the chicken quesadillas and a glass of Sauvignon Blanc because when you get on board and you enter into cruise mode, I mean, it's nice to start with a drink. The Cobb salad was fresh, it was well made, well presented, it was very solid. The chicken quesadillas, they're cheesy, they had a nice side of sour cream and some fresh made pico. Totally relaxing lunch. It was a great start. The first evening there, I headed to the Manhattan room, which is another one of the 3 dining rooms they have. This one's at the back of the ship. It's got big views out the back. It's the largest of the 3. It's got a 180-degree view depending on where you're sitting in the room. And if you haven't sailed Norwegian before, one of the different things about their dining is they do freestyle dining. So, it's not traditional early seating around 5:30 and late around 7. Whenever you're ready for dinner, you just go ahead and show up. I was there about 5:15 and I was seated right away. It's no issue at all. I'll pop up a menu of that for you to take a look at too. But soon right after that, a sommelier came over and I ordered myself a nice glass of Sangiovese as I considered my options. And then I settled on the crab cake and the chicken piccata. The crab cake was warm and moist, lots of delicious crab pieces, and the cucumber salad was super fresh and tasty with a nice dressing. The piccata itself came out nice and hot, and it was still juicy. I thought it was a little under seasoned, but still very satisfying. I had dinner at the main dining room in all 2 more nights. On night 2, I had the New England clam chowder as my appetizer with Maine bluefish and mashed potatoes and arugula salad and some sugar-free carrot cake for dessert. The clam chowder was creamy, it was well seasoned, it was hot, had plenty of clams to it, it was really good. The Maine bluefish was well seasoned too, but a bit dry. However, they had a delicious sauce that topped the fish. It was absolutely divine. And the arugula salad was very fresh with some pearl onions. Really good. For dessert, the no sugar added carrot cake was absolutely moist and delicious. Loved it. The other night that I went to main dining room for dinner was night 4. And on that night I had pot stickers, chicken cordon bleu, no sugar added chocolate cake. The pot stickers, they were buttery, juicy, melt in your mouth, delicious. The chicken cordon bleu was a little dry on the outside, which happens because of the way things get prepped on a cruise ship, but the ham and cheese on the inside were moist and flavorful and warm. The no sugar added chocolate cake with creamy frosty had lots of cocoa flavor to it, delicious. Overall, looking at the main dining room for the times that I was there for dinner, I'd give the main dining room a 7 out of 10, which is quite solid and tasty, just not spectacular. Norwegian also offers some included specialty dining if you book with their More at Sea or Free at Sea program, depending on what they have going on at that time. For me, I booked Le Bistro, which is the French specialty restaurant on board. I went on night 3. It was easily the best meal that I had on the cruise. I had 2 appetizers. I had the beef tartare and the escargot. They were both excellent. The escargot had a perfect cook. It was sitting in a nice, lovely, buttery citrus marinade. The tartare had great texture. It was well seasoned, and it was a beautiful presentation. It came with a drool-worthy mayo basil dressing. Delicious. The entree followed, and the potatoes were smooth but had a lovely tart bright side of lemon, which paired well with the fish. The sea bass had a perfect cook with crispy skin and moist flesh, and it came with fresh pesto and an olive tapenade, which were both delicious. This meal was a 9 out of 10, and I would highly recommend Le Bistro on Joy. Breakfast on the Joy, you get 4 options every day. They've got the main dining room, they've got the buffet, which is the Garden Cafe, they've got the observation lounge, and then the local. I had breakfast at the main dining room one morning. Here's a look at the menu here. I had scrambled eggs, bacon, corned beef hash, and breakfast potatoes. The eggs, unfortunately, seemed like that they were the dehydrated type, which was very disappointing. They were edible. The bacon, however, was very crisp and delicious. The hash was house made. The potatoes were cut nice and fine, and it was real beef in there. Um, if I went a second time, I would have avoided the scrambled eggs and maybe ordered an omelet or seen if there was another fresh preparation I could have got for that. The atmosphere was relaxing, but for the breakfast food, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. It was good, but so are the other options on board. Um, yeah, if you want a slower pace, it's fine. I didn't mind it, but I'm not gonna put my stamp of, you've got to go to this. 2 of the days, I went to the Garden Cafe for breakfast, which is the buffet on board. Um, on the Norwegian Joy, they've got a very large buffet. It has a huge spread for breakfast with a lot of options. My favorite part of the buffet at breakfast was they had 5 or 6 fresh made omelet stations where you could tell them the ingredients and they would make it there right in front of you. Absolutely phenomenal. This meant that I could get fresh eggs every day and seasonings without much wait. It was really good. They also had all the traditional stuff that you would expect. So they had stations set up where they had breakfast meats. They had sausages, bacons, corned beef hash, breakfast potatoes, as well as a section with sweets and cereals and yogurts and fruits, coffee station, juice station, pretty much anything you'd want for breakfast. So overall, I would give the Garden Cafe at breakfast a 6.5. I thought this was a really solid choice, and they did have something for everybody here. I didn't eat at the observation lounge, but I was in there, walked through there a few times, and what they offer there is more a continental breakfast. They've got pastries and fresh fruit and granolas and cereals, like a basic continental breakfast spread. The other option you have is the local, which is the pub on board, and I'll pop up the menu here for this. This is typical diner breakfast. And although I didn't go this time, I have gone many times, and I think it's as good, or it's probably better than the dining room, actually. A little bit quicker, it's a more casual environment. Lunch options on the Joy, you've got the main dining room, which is open on sea days, the observation lounge, and then the Garden Cafe, the buffet. Me personally, I opted for the buffet for 3 days. Um, As I mentioned, I went to the dining room on the first day. The main selections were typical buffet lunch, and they were fine, but they did have four sections which were really exceptional on there. They had an Indian station with different selections each day. I had butter chicken, chicken vindaloo, fish tikka, and pakora. It was all delicious. I also found the salad station was really well set up, had a good variety. It was fresh, it was tasty, and they included a selection of meats and cheeses, which changed a little bit every day. Garden Cafe also had a build your own soup station where they'll create it when you watch. So you could get rice noodles and pick out your meats and pick out your veg, and they'll make it right for you as you're there. But I think the standout was the dessert station. And for me personally, as a diabetic, and if any of you are diabetics out there, you know how hard it is on cruise ships to get reasonably tasty, sugar free, or no sugar added desserts. And I'm happy to report that at lunch they had at least one every single day, and sometimes two. And it was really good, which may be why I kept going there. The local is a great choice too for a quick sit down lunch, and it's more like pub fare. You know, you got burgers, fish and chips, even chicken wings, um, Reuben sandwich. I'll pop up the menu here. I didn't stop there this cruise, but I have been there many times, and it was always good. And the observation lounge, kind of similar to breakfast, it had a selection of light bites. So if you're not really hungry for lunch, maybe you ate a late breakfast or you got an early dinner and you just want to get a little bit, it's also a good place to go. They got like small sandwiches and desserts and snacks all laid out. Late night, unfortunately, the only option is the local. Well, I say unfortunately. The fortunate part is it is open 24 hours, so you can always go get food at the local. And they do have a good late night menu. They got nachos and they got chicken wings, they got salads, burgers. It's a good late night menu. But that's the one place to go. Now, does it typically get too busy? And the local is a big venue, but some other places do have a few more options. Overall, I mean, I was quite satisfied with the food on Norwegian Joy. I'm going to give it overall a 7 out of 10. I've got no complaints about it. The food ranged from good to excellent, and I enjoyed all the options that were available. Um, Real happy how the food was on this. No complaints. All right, let's move on to entertainment. And one of the main criticisms that Norwegian has received since COVID, other cruise lines too, but I think Norwegian's gotten a lot of it, is that they cut back on entertainment post COVID to save money, um, which is probably true, thinking back on our last few cruises. But I'm happy to report that it appears that Norwegian has listened, and on this 4 day cruise on Norwegian Joy, they upped both the quantity and the quality of the entertainment. Night one, a little bit of a disappointment. They were supposed to have a Broadway style show going on, Broadway hits of the 80s, but apparently they had some issues with staffing, so they couldn't pull that off. So, not a great start. They did bring in a comedian, he did a family friendly routine. It was okay. It was a little bit of a letdown. However, the rest of the cruise they'd make up for that, and let's get into that. So, on night two, I was able to catch two shows because there's a lot going on this cruise. I'll see if I can pop up a couple of itineraries here for you to take a look at and just see what they had going on. Um, the first thing that I saw on the second night was Beatles Story, which was in the Cavern Club. Now, this Cavern Club is built to be a replica of the actual Cavern Club that the Beatles played in when they were first starting out. keeping that in mind, this is when they first started out. It is a small venue. So if you want to get to this show, get there 30 to 45 minutes early to get a good seat. Trust me, it's well worth it. The band that they have is excellent and authentic, and the sound quality that they have in there, the impact, it's electric. I highly recommend this show for anybody who loves music, Beatles fan or not. I've seen it twice now, and I would definitely go back again the next time I'm on the Joy. As a matter of fact, I'm already planning it. I was able after that to go catch the first production show that we were going to have on this, which was called Bring Back the 90s. Now, this show had a large cast. It had a bunch of nice remixes of 90s songs, had good choreography. It was high energy. It was very entertaining. Now, wasn't groundbreaking original. I've seen a lot of shows similar to this, on Carnival or Royal or on Celebrity. It's a pretty basic show, but it was very entertaining. The Beatles, though, excellent knockout. Night 3, I hit the Social Comedy Club for a stand-up comedian, and that was excellent. Now, this was the second of two comedians, and both of this comedian's family and adult shows were top notch. Also, the venue is set up for comedy shows, and it makes for a nice evening. It's like being at a land-based comedy show, which I appreciated. From the first time that I was on Norwegian Joy, which was 2022 to now, on our first sailing, they were just doing art auctions in there. There was nothing significant happening. So this, I think, also points at they've increased your entertainment options on board, and it was good. After that, I headed over to the atrium, and I was going to catch Battle of the Sexes, which is always a fun show to catch. However, the atrium on the Joy, it's quite small for the size ship that they have. This ship holds about 4,000 and so passengers on it. And you just can't fit a lot of people there. If you want to go and see a show in the atrium, you have to show up there legitimately 30 to 45 minutes early. But I've seen it before, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go hit the casino. Night 4, we had the second of the production shows that they had, which was the Wild Cards Club. And I'm glad I did. This is one of the best production shows I've seen on Norwegian in a while. Now, this is an original composition of theirs, but it had a large cast. I think it was 11 or 12. It had a great storyline that you could follow it and kept you interested. The singing and choreography was great. But probably the most fantastic thing, they had upgraded behind the whole stage and on the walls and even the lights that they have up on here. But on the back wall, it's all LED panels, and the graphics and stuff that they had going on was amazing, matched in with the light effects that they had. And then they had sets, legitimate sets. These things were huge and they were realistic. This whole performance was phenomenal. Really took things over the top. There's also a lot of live music each night, and I missed a lot of it, but I did catch the Cavern Club, which they had music there every night. Besides the Beatles band, they had another house band that was quite good. And then over at Q's Texas Barbecue, they've got a house country band that plays every single night as well. And then they have Mojitos. They feature live Latin music every night. So tons of music on top of the comedy shows and the main productions in the theater, casino, and then the atrium shows. So, in the evening, you've got lots of choices. Later on in the evening, they also have some, dance parties and things. There's a lot to keep you going. And again, I'll just pop up another couple things on here so you can see it. But I did hit the casino a few times, as I mentioned. One of the nice things, on ships where they have a non-smoking and a smoking, if they do separate them, typically what you find is the non-smoking casino is a small little room, and then the main floor is the smoking area. On Joy, it's the opposite. They have a huge non-smoking casino. It's the main casino. It's where the bar is at. And then they do have also a nice smoking casino, and it's not hidden away. It's actually got glass that opens it up, but the ventilation's in there and great. I actually played some in there as well, although I'm a non-smoker, and I really enjoyed it. Overall, I'd give Entertainment on the Joy a 7 out of 10. The Beatles story, it's a must see. That's a definite 9 out of 10. And on the low end, that first family friendly comedian, maybe a 6 out of 10. But it was a nice step up from my first time on Joy. All right, let's move on to service. Now, this is another area that people had mentioned that Norwegian had cut back on post COVID, and all cruise lines had. I'm happy to report, kind of like with entertainment, at least on this sailing, service staffing was back up to where it was at COVID, if not better. Dining service at all the venues was fast and efficient, and there was never any long waits. You know, the main dining room, you had the main server and the assistant server, sommelier, and the maitre d' checked every table each night personally. All of the bars were well staffed, both at the bar itself, which they've typically always had, even when they cut back, but also table service was fast. So you could sit down, um, no issues. You'd have a drink. As a matter of fact, even at the shows, when you went to the main theater to catch a show, they had at least six drink servers each night. So everybody was able to get their drinks fast. Nobody went without. The Cavern Club and the Social Comedy Club, which are a little bit smaller, I mean, they had four or five going around. So they had great coverage for drink service. Um, a huge improvement and definitely visible. My room steward, he always seemed to be around. I mean, the guy was always there. I never had any issues. If I did, he took care of it right away, and he helped me with a bunch of things. Um, Top notch with him as well. And then, you know, one of the what's the right way to say it? One of the best parts, I guess, most enjoyable parts for service is on the Joy. They have possibly the two best washy people. When you go in, they've got a greeter at each entrance to the Garden Cafe, and man, they make up songs about washing your hands. They make up funny songs about guilting you into doing it or saying nice things because you did it. Um, they're absolutely a blast. Enjoyed it, loved it. Overall, the crew everywhere were super friendly. They were helpful. They were easy to find. This is one of the strengths of this ship. So for service, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. And I don't believe there's anybody who ever hits 10. So this is great service. And finally, the ship. Norwegian Joy was built in 2019, and then it had a pretty significant update and refresh in 2024. I found the ship to have a modern but laid back aesthetic, which felt relaxing. Although it is a few years old, the maintenance on this ship has kept it in excellent shape, and the Joy crew kept this ship tip top and clean. They were always going around cleaning this thing. Personally, I feel like Norwegian is shooting for two different demographics on this ship because at times it almost felt like two ships, although I didn't find it to be disjointed. Um, they have a number of venues like the Observation Lounge, the Maltings Bar, which is the whiskey and beer bar, Spice H2O, which is the adults only outdoor area, and a lot of the more grown up specialty dining options, and they offer a more grown-up experience, a laid-back and relaxed vibe. Personally, I enjoyed spending time each day in the observation lounge with the views. It was great. I did some work in there, but a lot of people were just hanging out, reading or talking, um, grabbing a drink. They do have a Starbucks in there and a bar, um, but on the other hand, if you leave those areas and you go to the upper decks, they have a lot of areas that are designed for children and families. They've got water slides on there. They have a splash area for young children. They've got a kids pool, and they've got a legitimate racetrack on this ship where you can race your family and friends, as well as typical mini golf. And then they got two video arcades on this too, which are quite well laid out. They also have kids clubs for each group, and those rooms are well set up. Um, and overall, I found the ship easy to navigate and well laid out. Other than embarkation day, which is typical for anybody. Like, overall, I'd say considering the ship design, the amenities, the layout, and the upkeep, I'd give the Joy a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely recommended. For the Norwegian Joy as a whole, if we pull that all together, we're looking at the food, the entertainment, the service, and then the ship overall. I'd give it the same thing. I'd go 7.5 out of 10. For me personally, it fits my style of cruising. Of course, everyone's a little bit different, and this might not be the case for everybody, but hopefully with the breakdown I've given you on these four areas and what they're like, as well as the information I presented for you, getting a look at the menus, and as you see what some of these areas look like, hopefully you've got enough information to decide, is the Norwegian Joy the ship for you? This has been Matt with Keep On Cruising. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching. If you've ever been on the Joy and you want to give your thoughts on the ship, please comment below. I'd love to see what you thought about it, and I bet others would as well. If there's any questions that you have about the ship, I'd also be happy to answer that. I've been on it twice. So just put that in comments down below. And then please remember, if you found this video helpful or useful or interesting at all, please like it. Please give us a subscription. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.